Hello, everybody. So here you go for a simplifying radicals that have a negative inside. So we talked about this a little bit last semester. If I were to have the square root of 25, you're looking for what times itself is the number inside. So 5 times 5, okay? Or negative 5 and negative 5. So you got two answers for this, plus and minus 5. Okay. But what if you have a negative inside? Remember, it has to be the same number times itself. 5 times 5 is 25. Negative 5 times negative 5 is also 25. These are both 25. It doesn't work. They have to be the same number. So this gave rise to needing a new number. And that number, unfortunately, is called an imaginary number, and it's worth the square root of negative 1. Okay? So we have to involve I. Going back to this, you have the square root of negative 1 times 20. And the square root of negative 1 times 4 times 5. So I can break this into a series of numbers. Negative 1 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Okay? This is worth I. So you have I times the square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 5. And you're finished. All you have to do is rewrite it. It goes in this order. 2I square root of 5. That's how you write your answer. I comes between any other number that's out here and the square root. It goes in front. Okay? And that's just the regular I that's on your keyboard. It's actually a lowercase italics I. Okay? But you don't do italics on your keyboard, so when you type this in, it will understand it. Okay? So this would be negative 1 times 12, which is negative 1 times 4 times 3. Now it's also negative 1 times 2 times 6, but neither of those are perfect squares, so you don't want it. It's not going to be helpful. This one is helpful because it has the 4, which is a perfect square. So square root of negative 1 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. This is worth I times the square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 3. Just rearrange the order, 2I square root of 3, and you're finished. Okay? So that's the square root of negative 1 times 180. And the 180 we got to start breaking down. So 2 times 90 is 180. Let's try another 2. 2 times, whoops. So I'm keeping that original 2. This 2 is just coming down. 2 times 45. Now that's 4, which is good. 4 times 45. But 45 is 9 times 5. Okay? So all this is still in the square root. Negative 1 times 4 times 9 times 5. Square root, whoops, I meant to do individual ones. Negative 1 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 9 times the square root of 5. That's I times 2 times 3 times the square root of 5. So that's 6. So 6I square root of 5. Now, if you wanted a little less writing, you could combine these. Instead of writing this one, you could write square root of negative 1 times 36 times 5. I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm just giving you a picture of what it could look like if you had combined the perfect squares. So that's I. The square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of 5 has to stay put. So 6I square root of 5. You get the same answer. Okay? Negative 125. Okay. Negative 1 times, how about 5 times 25? Okay? So that's the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 5 times the square root of 25. So that's I times the square root of 5 times, this is worth 5. This 5 has to come in front. So it becomes 5I square root of 5. Because these are all products. Okay? So it just is 5I squared 5. Thanks for your time. This is the name of your assignment. Have a great one.